Okay, so what follows is a brief presentation on subject choice for incoming first years 2024. So we always begin by just reminding students that motivation is a strong indicator of academic success. So coming to school prepared, attending school, coming in with a positive attitude is very important, especially in first year, just to get things started. So on a practical note, students will choose 3 subjects, 1 from each option block, and a reserve option in case one of those 3 is not available. That's the way it should work. So there's a provisional example of how the form might look. There's 4 websites to be looking at. The links here will be available at the embedded PDF that's available on the school website. So we can have a look at those 4 websites. First one is the guidanceoffice.info website. So if you go to the school website, St.Ciarán.cs.ie, in the right hand side, there's a link in there for guidance. So if you click on guidance, that will bring you into the school guidance website. If you look at the 3rd tab across the top, the one that you are interested in is subject choice. So all the information that may be of some benefit or help is under the subject choice section on the website. So just click on there on guidanceoffice.info. We can bring you straight to it as well. So there's lots of information there, especially for subject choice for senior cycle. The bit that you will be most concerned with is first year subject choice. So is it just a general letter from myself, just advising parents about the importance of the science and language option, specifically for first years. There's a quick guide there on how to actually use the Qualifax database, which I'll mention in a minute. A copy of the form from last year, just a mock version, just to see what it looks like, and a copy of the presentation here is also available in PDF form, and all the links are embedded in it. So if you hit Control and then point on the link and click, it should bring it straight to the website. All right, so the first website was curriculumonline.ie. That's done by the National Council for Curriculum Assessment. So they're the ones who design the programs that we follow in secondary schools. If you click on that, there is a list of all the subjects that are available for junior cycle. I just as an example here, I've picked on business studies, and you can see that there's a curriculum specification, information on how the subject is assessed. Some samples of student work are also given, and then a quick overview of a subject. The best way to get that is probably by looking at some of the sample questions that are involved in the area. Gives you a sort of a good taste for the subject. Now I mentioned Qualifax. That's the national database. So that is a database that holds the entire courses that are available for secondary school students to apply for. And the link, as I said, is there. So if you have a specific question about a course, if you want to know, well, if I want to get into UCD, or I want to do science in Maynooth, or I want to go and maybe do a PLC course in Cavan Institute, are there any specific requirements? And as I said in the letter, that normally comes down to, for most students, certainly in first year, it normally comes down to, should I have a language, 3rd language requirement, or should I keep on the science and then do either chemistry, biology, physics, applied maths, and maths, I suppose, are science subjects as well for Leaving Cert. So Qualifax, if you go to the bottom of the page, there's a section there for CAO subject requirements. If you click on that, there's a little tool there on the left-hand side, which is quite handy. So if we just look, for example, at the 3rd language requirements, you'll notice of the almost 1,600 courses available on Qualifax, 161 require a 3rd language. In order to enter those courses, you do actually require a 3rd language. 12 might recommend a 3rd language, or it might be an option on the course, but almost 1,400 do not require a 3rd language. There's plenty of courses that students can avail of that do not require the language. So you click on there. So for example, if I just click on the courses that do require the 3rd language, the 161 courses there. First one up is University College Cork, and it's the accounting degree, and points to that its year was 492. So I just click on that course, and there'll be lots of information about the makeup of the course, but the bit that you're probably interested in is the specific course requirements. And you'll see for that particular course, honours degree in an NUI college, must pass English at ordinary or higher level, must pass Irish at ordinary or higher level, must pass maths at ordinary or higher level, and that's where the language requirement kicks in. So sometimes it's odd, you see accounting and you think, what connection does that got with a modern language? But because it's done in an NUI college, that particular course has a a language requirement at ordinary or higher level. There are business courses available in the NUI colleges that do not have a third language requirement as well, just to mention. So the points, I think what's important to remind students is even from day one in first year, which is probably a little unfair, but accumulating points is starts very early on. So doing as many subjects at a higher level as possible in the Leaving Cert is important, because the higher the grades, the more points that you actually accumulate. The more points you accumulate, the more choice you have in terms of accessing third level courses. And that sort of process begins in first year. Now in first year, the only higher subjects available are the core subjects, English, Irish and Maths. Everything else is done at a common level. But doing the best you can at those common level subjects in order to achieve the highest grade gives you the opportunity to maybe take those subjects up later at an honours grade in the Leaving Certificate. So the point system is straightforward enough. There's 8 grades, 8 H's for honours, so H1 to H8, O for ordinary, that's O1 to O8. So for example, if you scored 90% or above on an honours paper, that's what we call a H1, that's the equivalent of 100 points. If you scored 90% or above on an ordinary level paper, that's referred to as an O1, that's worth 56 points. So the points are on the far side. You'll notice at the bottom there's additional or bonus points awarded for honours maths, but only honours maths at 40% or above, so the H6 or above. So anywhere between the H6 and the H1, you add an extra 25 points. So the H1 becomes, in maths, becomes 100 points plus 25, so you get the full 125 points. So trying to stay honours maths if possible, not everybody can, could be important for additional Leaving Cert points. So how does this work in the real world? We'll just show you another NUI college, University College Dublin. So if you look at the first course down, that's Architecture, DN 100, and you'll see that you must have the pass in English, Irish and the third language requirement there, plus pass in maths and then 2 other subjects, so a total of 6 subjects in your Leaving Cert. There were 57 places available for that course, and the points for last year came in at 566. So the points are based on your best 6 subjects. So most students for the Leaving Cert will end up doing 7 subjects, possibly 8 if they're doing maybe music or an additional language outside of school. But your points are based on your best 6. So your grades are turned into points, and the best 6 are added up. This course had, well, for this year there's 57 places available. Let's presume the 57 for last year. So what they do is they add you up in order of highest points down to the lowest points. You'll notice that number 57 then for this year would have had 566 points. So the last points are the points achieved by the last person to gain entry into the course. So that's basically how it works in the real world. So number 1, you must matriculate or have the basic entry requirements. As I said, pass English, pass Irish, pass maths, pass language, 2 other subjects. And 2 of those must be at H5 level. And then secondly, then your grades are turned into points. Points are added up, your best 6 subjects, and if you have high enough points, then you can get a place in the course. You'll notice that landscape architecture does not have a third language requirement. City planning and environmental policy does not have a third language requirement. Engineering, science, computer science also do not have a third language requirement. So the language requirement only kicks in for specific courses, which is why Qualifax is useful. So if there's a course that you may be interested in, you go to Qualifax, look up the course, click on the course, loads of information. The bit that you're most interested in is entry requirements, just subject entry requirements. You can go down there. Now, just to point out some of the mistakes that some students make, so they stick with subjects that may not be required or even sometimes useful for what they might be interested in. So DCG is absolutely useful when it comes to architecture, and if you're very good at DCG, it can help you accumulate points to get into architecture, but in reality, I suppose, traditional art is still a very useful subject to have for architecture. For engineering, you do not need to be an engineer. It won't do you any harm. It might be something that you enjoy doing, but it's not necessarily a requirement. No engineering course in the country requires engineering. Every engineering course in the country requires maths. So maths for engineering, whether it's biochemical engineering or electronic engineering, makes no difference. Maths becomes your primary focus. Biology is perfectly acceptable for nursing and obviously makes sense, but I think a really good combination there to have would be biology and chemistry, and maybe even prioritise the chemistry over the biology. You don't need accountancy to become an accountant. There is an exception to that. There's a course in Galway that's running on a trial basis, an accountancy requirement to get in, but no business course in the country actually requires a business subject, so you don't need business to take a management degree anywhere. You don't need a modern language for primary school teaching, you never have. However, if you want to do an arts degree and then go into primary school teaching by doing the 2-year follow-on course, then that for the arts degree there may be a language requirement. Now there's lots of arts degrees that there's arts in Trinity, arts in DCU do not have a language requirement, but arts in NUI colleges still have the language requirement. And as I said, most of the subjects that you do at third level are not even touched upon at second level, so you don't even need Chinese to study Chinese studies in Maynooth University, which apparently is quite popular. Okay, so as I said, the obligatory or the core subjects are English, Irish and Maths. I put the asterisk beside the Irish because some students, based on dyslexia or maybe aren't coming into secondary school until after the age of 12, then they may have an exemption from the study of Irish. Therefore, any course, if a student has a school-based exemption from the study of Irish, any course that you see on Qualifax that requires Irish, you will be exempted from that requirement. All you have to do is present the exemption. So those 3 core subjects, as I said, are done at higher ordinary or foundation level. There's no foundation level English, however. And then on top of that, we're running 2 what we call short courses, 100-hour courses in physical education and social, political and health education. In terms of languages on offer, Irish for most students is going to be compulsory. English for most students obviously compulsory. 2 European languages we offer in the school are French and German. And then we have a number of students who might take on an additional language themselves, Latvian, Lithuanian, Polish. We've had students do Spanish, Russian, whatever, and that subject can be taken up at Leaving Cert level. The other option subjects, as from slide 2, the option blocks will be engineering, wood technology, sometimes students just call it woodwork, home ec or home economics, art, visual art, give it its proper name. Tech graphics is graphics, business, science and music. So that's the options that are available. So the advice that we can give. Ultimately, the end game is the Leaving Cert, and the Leaving Cert is about accumulating points. So do subjects that you are good at, that you enjoy, that you feel that you can actually achieve at, because the higher the grades, the more points, and as I said, more points implies more choice. If you do have a specific career in mind, if somebody wants to do veterinary medicine, or somebody's interested in nursing, or somebody wants to be a secondary school teacher in a specific subject area, it might be worth, even at this point, going back and just double checking Qualifax. Do I need the language? Do I need the science requirement? I think that's the important questions for junior cycle. Please be wary of the easy and hard subject. What students are proficient at and comes easy to them, they find easy, and what students don't have an aptitude or an interest in, they find difficult. So you can have some students in a class of history who really enjoy it and they're doing well, and you can have a bunch of students in the same classroom with the same teacher in the same environment, and they find it very difficult, and it's not a subject that they enjoy. So be wary of the question of what's easy and what's hard. Generally, it's more to do with the aptitude and the attitude of the student than it has to do with the subject area. Where possible, as I said, again, stick with honours, especially in the core subjects, and do as well as you can in the common level papers, because that will translate to more honours subjects at Leaving Cert level, and again, more honours, more grades, more points, more choice. Your choices should not totally depend on which teacher is teaching. You might have heard rumours about this teacher's very good, this teacher not so hot. So you are not going to know who's actually going to be teaching the subject, so choose the subject above the teacher. Teachers like the icing on the cake. Junior certificate is a full-time 3-year course, so students need to be working over 3 years in order to achieve a good result. So establishing that positive attitude, establishing good habits in terms of learning, homework, study, revision is very important, even in first year. And you'd recommend, I suppose, the first year to be doing at least maybe an hour and a half a night, just starting off, just getting into a routine. If a student genuinely makes a mistake at the beginning of the year, so they've chosen home economics, they're in there for 2 or 3 weeks, they find out this is not what I pictured or what I envisioned, if they need to make contact with management as quickly as possible, see if there's an option for swapping into another class. But do that as early as possible, because oftentimes there's not an option to change because there are limits on class sizes. Generally, you can't have more than 30 students in a class, you can't have more than 24 in a practical class, and 20 in some of the practical classes. So there may physically be no room to actually move a student if they make a mistake. But if they do, and there's a possibility of transfer, I think they should just make contact as quickly as possible. So what can be done? If you as a student, if you know any students studying subjects at the moment, if you have siblings, or you have neighbours or cousins, or you know someone in first year or someone in junior cycles, there's no harm in getting information from them. All information will help you make a better decision. And as I said, use the online resources, have a look at curriculumonline.ie, get a good overview of what the subject looks like, and get as much information as possible, and use Qualifax if necessary if there is a specific subject career in mind, so you can actually do a little bit of research beforehand. It can help. Now, I suppose one of the important things just to kick off career guidance in junior cycle is that ultimately education leads to qualifications. Qualifications hopefully lead to some sort of job or employment at the end of it. And as of today, this obviously might change in 3 or 4 months' time, but as of today, this is the list of the probably most in-demand jobs in 2024 in Ireland. As you can see, we're all getting older, so all the healthcare courses there, like nurse and pharmacy technician, are in big demand. Finance is in big demand, everything from your software engineering, your IT, web development, data scientist, and so on, so on. So you can have a look over that if needs be. And then obviously the areas, the 5 fastest growing areas are developing at the moment in Ireland is certainly the area of manufacturing, especially high-tech manufacturing. Software engineering is going nowhere soon, is doing really well. Massive job shortages in that area, specifically in the area of cybersecurity. We're doing really well in the aerospace industry. As I said, medical devices, specifically around Galway, seems to be doing, those type of companies are doing really, really well. And then, no surprise, renewable energies is very popular at the moment, very employable at the moment. Okay, so if there are any concerns, any issues, any questions, email is up there, dotes@St.Ciarán.cs.ie. If you send that should come directly to my desk, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Okay, hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much.